Feed your body, nourish your soul. It starts with the food. Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 4 of It Starts with the Food. I'm Heather Parker, and today I have Pete Cossaboom on. Hi, Pete. How are you?
Hello. I'm well. How are you today?
I'm doing really great. So, Pete is going to be kind of doing some interviewing to me and asking me some questions about what I do with, my lifestyle, the ketogenic diet, what it is, what I eat, what I stay away from, and other things that I incorporate in my diet and in my daily life. And because I think you all have kind of seen a little bit about me, but really don't know a whole lot about what it is I'm doing. So that's what Pete's here to do, and he's a fantastic interviewer. So, Pete, I'm going to let you have at it.
I love it. I love it so much. So, Heather, tell me because there are so many diets out there, so many things that we're really being led to do, with the, I don't know, the caveman diet and this and the carbohydrate and all this. So, can you explain to us really what's the philosophy behind the ketogenic diet? What is it? What types of foods am I going to eat? Just how am I going to be able to really incorporate this in my life?
It's a great question. So, the ketogenic diet actually was created back in the 1920s. And it was created for a therapy and a treatment for pediatric epilepsy. It was way before there was any kind of drug therapies. And so they really went after it through diet. And the ketogenic diet is all about carb restriction. So it's a high fat, unlike Atkins, which is carb restricted, but it's a high protein, or typical Atkins was a high protein, low carbs, but also lower on the fat. The ratio is 75% fats to 20% to 20% protein. And then you've got your lower end carbs. Carbs generally, for me, I keep it between 20 and 25 grams of carbs a day. That's pretty restricted. But the fat intake is really, really important. And the reason being is because the body is able to convert fat into fuel. So our bodies generally will use carbs, which turn into glucose, which then turns into fuel. And our bodies have become very, very lazy in that fact, where we're just so used to immediately being able to eat something and it goes into the liver, and that's how our bodies go. That glucose goes into different parts of our bodies, into the major organs, brain, that sort of thing, to function. Well, when we restrict the carbs, the body's then forced to turn to fat stores, which converts us into fat burners. And that's really what everybody wants to be, is a fat burner. And that happens through the body goes after the fat stores, takes it through the liver, and the liver turns that into ketone bodies. Those ketone bodies then go into the organs in the brain as alternative fuel sources. And the brain works much, much more efficiently with ketones, that's why they think that it has worked so well with epilepsy. People got away from it being an epileptic diet back when drug therapies, when the big pharma really kind of came out with all of these, really hardcore drugs. And what's happened is, over time, people have found that they don't work anymore, or they're working less effectively. So this has kind of made a comeback for a lot of children, anyway, that cannot stand, massive amounts of benzodiazepine, which really, it's like Valium and Xanax and things like that to suppress that. It kind of evolved through this wanting to treat one thing, and it ended up being something that worked really well for other aspects. So when the body is in that fat burning phase and is not being lazy and using glucose stores, it also helps metabolic diseases. So insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes. It also helps prevent from Alzheimer's, dementia, things that affect the brain, neuro diseases. It really protects against that for the brain as well. But the nice thing about this is that any kind of insulin issues, metabolic issues that you may be developing or have developed can be reversed in a very short period of time. I know for me, I was at the pre-diabetic stage for a good couple years. And after just a month of changing my eating, I went into the normal range for the first time and have stayed there ever since. So I know that works, and it worked for me, and worked in many, many other studies. So the ketogenic diet is really about making good choices, good fats. And when I say fats, saturated fats, we're talking about butter, we're talking about coconut oil, we're talking about avocados, olive oil, the creams. When you have coffee, don't go for the non-fat milk, go for the heavy whipping cream. So, those are the things that really kind of fuel the body and really kind of get that body to do what it's supposed to do and turn into the fat burner and go for the fat burning, the love handles, all the places, the trouble places, the thighs, the hips, the butt, all those places, and they start to shrink, and it's pretty amazing when it happens.
I love that, and it's such a reframing, really, of where we've been. Because fat became the enemy. At one time, because I guess people were thinking, I want to get rid of fat, so I shouldn't eat fat. But I think it's very fascinating about how, really, when you think about how our bodies even developed, they didn't like take the cream off of the milk; they drank the whole milk. They hate these fats. That's the way our body is. So I love that. I think that gives such hope for people to be like, I can have these tasty things, because, fat brings a lot of taste and texture to food.
And when you take the fat out, you have to add sugar, because if you take
Right.
the fat out, it tastes pretty crap.
Right. I have a jar of peanut butter here. I'm not going to show it, but I did not mean to buy the reduced fat, and I was eating it, and I was like, what is wrong with this? And I was like, oh, it's reduced fat. So they pumped up the sugar, and that's why I can't eat it. So
Yes.
exactly.
It's really insane to me that fat became the enemy. And there was a lot of studies that they tried to push on everybody that fat was a direct correlation to cholesterol, and then cholesterol became the enemy, which we have now realized that is not true. The body needs cholesterol. It's the sugar. And, again, the fat doesn't cause us to be fat. It's the sugar that causes us to be fat.
Mm.
So, and the other thing too, and this is the one thing that I really kind of have to warn people when they start, looking into changing and going to the ketogenic lifestyle, is that protein, it's really easy to go to protein as a go-to snack, like grabbing, some ham or some turkey or whatever, going for the protein. But even too much protein, our bodies can only use so much. So if we're not using the protein, it then converts into fat. It converts into glucose, which converts into sugar, which then converts into fat. So yeah, that's why it's like, trying to overdo it. It's really, veggies are always going to be your best option. Making sure you're eating enough fat. Fat satiates you too. So like the more fat you have, the more full you get. So then you're not looking for those snacks and all the other stuff to fill your body.
Right. Amazing. I'm very excited about this.
It's really this was a game changer, considering all the different diets and things that I had tried before, and trying the low fat and realizing that my body was not functioning well, and then doing this and going, okay, this makes sense to me. And the flavor is amazing. I mean, like when I tell people, they're asking, what can I have as a snack, and I'm like, whip up some heavy whipping cream with some stevia and some vanilla extract, and they're like, and put it on what? And I'm like, nothing. Eat it. I'm like, if you wanted to, I suppose you could put it on, a handful of blueberries or raspberries, but eat it. And they're like, oh my God, this is like the best gift ever. I'm like, yeah.
I'll be right back.
I'm like, yeah, it's amazing. I make, that's one of the things that I made in the beginning because I needed something to feel dessert-like, and that definitely hit it.
Amazing. Okay, so Heather, can you tell me what types of foods are in the ketogenic diet? What can you eat on this diet?
So I touched a little bit on that just briefly, but really, so for me, veggies are always going to be the most important part of this, because I don't think we get nearly enough. I mean, they say 7 servings of fruit and vegetables. I stay away from fruits. So I'm really eating vegetables. I'm staying away from the starchy vegetables though. So I'm not doing carrots, or if I do carrots, they're in my soups, so I'm not eating carrots. I'm not, dipping carrots in anything. I stay away from potatoes. I do have sweet potatoes in some recipes. They are boiled, not baked, for some stews and things like that. But veggies, green leafy veggies, huge. Celery. I love cream cheese. Like my favorite snack of mine is cream cheese and celery. So or even cream cheese and almond butter. So I do almond butter, nuts, but always in the raw organic form. My favorite nuts, for example, are macadamia nuts and pecans. They are the highest in fat. They've got the lowest carbs. And the calorie wise, I mean, you just like the biggest thing is you just need to watch serving size on something like that. Like, don't sit down to a whole, pound of macadamia nuts and think that's going to work. So a quarter of a cup, and really you'll be fine. That's good. Meats, I'm a huge fan of grass-fed and finished. Anything that I eat is organic. That's first and foremost. There's a lot of ketogenic diets that consider a Wendy's burger without a bun ketogenic diet because it's low carb. I do not consider that. So I'm looking at the sources of my meat. So grass-fed and finished, it absolutely has to be. Poultry needs to be pasture raised, not to get caught up in the free range stuff, because free range at one time meant what we thought it meant, which is the chickens are actually out playing and eating like chickens are supposed to do. That's not the case anymore. So it really needs to be pasture raised. I eat eggs. I eat tuna, lots of avocado, cheese. Freaking love cheese. But the cheese is unpasteurized, because when they pasteurize the cheese, they take out all the good bacteria. So that's like, you really want the good bacteria. So I get there's Organic Valley has a great brand of unpasteurized cheddars. There's a mild cheddar and the sharp cheddar. Freaking love those. Brie. Soft cheeses do not need to be organic, believe it or not. So so I do my French brie. I love that. Flax crackers, amazing. Like with my group and the people that I coach and my clients and my recipe book, I really go in depth to all the different things that we can eat, because there's so much we can eat. I don't do noodles per se, but I do noodles made out of zucchini noodles, or spaghetti squash. There's a lot of swaps that we can make. Ultimately, what we want to do is look for real food. Kick the processed food. Kick the packaged food. If it's coming in a package, you probably shouldn't eat it. That's kind of my motto. That's really the key, is looking at what you're eating, quality of food. Making it count, sticking with that. You don't have to be the food police and go, okay, how many, exactly how many grams of protein and everything else, but having a rough idea of what your body should be getting, and making sure you stick to that. That's really kind of key. And fats, making sure you got lots of fats. As long as you've got the good fats, you will be full, and really everything else is just easy.
Yeah, and that really comes home to me, because I was invited over to somebody's home for a dinner, and here in America we're used to these huge portions, and I don't really eat large portions, but I guess but they brought out like this really fine grass-fed beef and this really, like you say, this organic cheese, and the portions were tiny. And at first my American eye was like, that's not enough food, but it was absolutely so delicious and so fulfilling to my palate and to my body that this probably a fourth of what would normally be on my plate was more than enough to satiate me. And it really brought home of, yes, it was probably more expensive at the store, but because we ate less, it probably was actually less expensive in the long run and better for us.
I mean, I preach that. And it's so true, because people just have this really distorted idea of what our plates are supposed to look like. And really good quality, you get that fat, you feel good, and it's filling, and you're not eating nearly as much. And then when dinner's over, you're not looking to go back to find something else in the kitchen. The kitchen is actually closed. So, which I absolutely agree. Yes, people kind of get that sticker shock, but when you're eating it and you go, wow, okay, so this steak, which I would normally eat all by myself, is actually 2 portions. Or the cheese, oh yeah, that's a $10 cheese, but guess what? That $10 cheese is going to last you a couple weeks. Right. So yeah, I totally agree. 100%.
I love it. So we've gone over the foods that we can have, and I am so excited. I'm about ready to walk out the door right here and go to the grocery store. But what are the things that I should really be watching out for? What are the things that I should be avoiding?
So, I hate to say this, because a lot of people are just gonna shoot the messenger, but anything with sugar in it. I mean, that's the first thing you want to avoid, and that one of the things that that's the first thing that was out of my house. Again, processed foods, anything in a package, I stay away from. you know, there's going to be the, you know, rare occasion where like nuts might be in a package, but you know, for the most part, you want to make sure it's coming in the rawest form of whatever you're getting. I stay away from conventional foods, any kind of conventional meats, conventional dairy, conventional poultry. They, with all of the hormones and the animal treatment, I mean, there's so many reasons that I stay away from it, but ultimately it's the nutrition, the lack of nutrition in that. I stay away from conventional produce. I'm really aware of all of the pesticides and the burden that those pesticides put on our bodies. It's huge. It attacks the liver, and the liver can only do so much. And I really believe that a lot of my health issues became because of all of the toxic burden that I was putting on my body, and then my body just quit. It said, enough, we can't do it anymore. And I swelled up to 185 pounds and looked like an Oompa Loompa. So it was, you know, I absolutely believe that to be true. So I stay away from that conventional dairy, conventional produce. Now there are some exceptions to that. There's something called the Green 15 and the Dirty Dozen, and those refer to vegetables and fruits. The Clean 15 are ones that you can eat without paying the extra money for organic, for whatever reason, like asparagus and broccoli. Those actually have their own kind of natural pesticides, so they're not sprayed. The Dirty Dozen, things like spinach, apples, those are things, and lettuces, those are things that you absolutely want to get organic. I stay away from fruits. So I have fresh lemon in my water all day long. For fruits, other than that, it'll be a handful of raspberries, a handful of blueberries every so often, just because they've got the most bang for your buck as far as the least amount of sugar, lowest glycemic index, but a lot of really good antioxidants. So that's why you would want something like that. But sugar is sugar. And that's the one thing that people kind of gloss over, is they're like, well, it's fruit. Oh yeah, fruit's sugar. And the body doesn't go, oh, this is fruit sugar, this is okay, we're not going to convert that to fat. It is what it is. So I stay away from fruits. You know, it's so funny because I try to think about the things that I don't eat, and there's so much that I can eat that the things that I don't eat really kind of fall away. I don't eat grains. I don't eat rice. I don't eat white potatoes. Now, is that to say that I haven't grabbed a French fry off of my son's plate? No, I have, but it's one or two, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm not missing anything. But sometimes I think, oh, maybe no. And I know what it does to me. I have had some experience where I've had some potatoes at one point, and then checked to see, and with my body checked to see what was going on, checking my ketones and my urine the next day, and realized that those little bit of potatoes really did spike my insulin, and that was showing me the very next day. So I thought that was very interesting. And so when I start paying attention to that, and I realized that the things that I can't have are the things that I shouldn't be having anyway, I'm okay with it.
I love that. Yeah, giving your body what it's really craving in the first place, and then it stops craving all this other crazy stuff, right?
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it really is.
True. And I think it's also a mind frame too of, you know, feeling deprived versus, you know, realizing that there is a bounty of things and that real food tastes really good. Whereas everything else, like even my son will come to me and he's like, yeah, I can taste the difference. I'm like, yeah, because we know what real food tastes like.
Right. I love that. That's amazing. So Heather, what do you do in conjunction with this diet? Because I'm sure it's not just all about healthy food choices and cooking it right and all this kind of stuff. There are sure probably other things that you can do in conjunction with this to really kind of amp the effect to make yourself even healthier, right?
There are, and that was for me the ketogenic diet kind of plan was just the catalyst. I mean, that was really the start for me. That was kind of like, okay, so I have an idea of what I'm supposed to be doing, and as I started doing it, I realized some more things, and more came to me. One of the most important things with the ketogenic diet, or any lifestyle period, I don't care what you're doing, adding in lots of fresh filtered lemon water. I mean, that's like I drink religiously. I mean, I've got my water bottle with me at all times. I'm drinking anywhere from 70 to 100 ounces a day. And one of the reasons why that's important is when you are in ketosis, which is the process of burning ketones as fuel versus glucose, is you can get things like kidney stones because you're eliminating through the liver, you're eliminating a lot of the fat and the toxins. So you need to replace it with something. So you always, and I think most of us are walking around in a state of dehydration for a majority of the time, and we don't even realize it. We don't even know and recognize the signs, that headache that you can't kick, the feeling of hunger. A lot of times that is dehydration. So addressing that first and foremost, I know that if I am drinking my lemon water and I'm doing and eating well and everything else, and I get a hunger signal of like, oh my God, I'm hungry, I'm probably hungry. It's probably not anything to do with being dehydrated, or maybe I'm not eating well, so my body thinks I'm constantly hungry, trying to fill that need, that nutritional need. So that's like one of the basics for me. Meditation. I think, kind of getting your mind right and realizing that for me, it really was a mindset change. And like I've said before, that it's not the things that you can't have. It's the lifestyle that you want and the things that you can have. And what does that look like? And being in a state of always the gratitude state that people talk about, of like, I'm grateful that my body responds so well to the foods that I feed it, and that I feel so good after I eat, that I don't feel sick to my stomach, because I know what that feels like too. I know what feeling full. I had my gallbladder out, and I know that was like that sick feeling of, oh my God, I just want to pass out. I'm uncomfortable. I'm grateful that I don't feel that way. I'm grateful that I feel good after I eat. And just kind of getting that really kind of, I don't know, that happy place again, I think, and being in a state of meditation where your mind's not constantly feeling like you're less than for whatever reason, whether it's diet, weight, health, any of those things. So that's another thing. The exercising. Now, I am not a fan of the gym. I broke up with the gym after my go around with it and not getting results, but I do move. I've just added a rebounder, and up until I started really kind of pursuing this passion, I am a very busy mom. I'm a virtual school mom, teacher, wife, constantly moving and grooving. And when I started sitting at the computer more, I realized that I was not moving anymore, and this wasn't a good thing. So I got a rebounder, one of those little mini trampolines that we used to jump on, that our parents used to have, or whatever you might remember. This is a little bit more, it's a nicer one than the blue ones with the blue on them and this bouncy springs. But I do it 10 minutes at a time. That's what I can do. I have it up against my wall. I'll be sitting at the computer for an hour and a half, and I'll be like, I have not moved. I'll put it down, jump on it for 10 minutes, and then put it back up again. And I'll do that usually 2 to 3 times a day. It's really great for the lymphatic system. It helps drain all of the toxins. When you've got lymphatic buildup, that produces cellulite. That's where those pockets of cellulite start to pop up. So that's a sign, if you've got some cellulite popping up, that your lymphatic system is not draining well. So movement, and it can be any movement. It doesn't, going to the gym and working out, these hardcore cardio, anything more than 30 minutes and you're putting your body in a state of stress, and that produces cortisol, which produces belly fat and all of the other problems that come with that. Not a good idea. At least not for me. Not for me. If you like it, that's all. You do what you love to do, and that's fine. The high intensity, short periods, yoga. I love yoga. I love the fact that I can feel my body moving and it doesn't feel stressful, and it's hard. You know that you're working out, but you don't feel like you're, stressing and sweating and all of those things. So the movement's a really important thing. The hydration's an important thing. Meditation, that's an important thing. And I also think having a support group. I know that when I was out there on my own doing it, it was kind of lonely, and I didn't have a whole lot of people to talk to and get excited about it. And as more people started to join me, I realized how important that support was. So support's great. And prepping and planning above all else, to end this conversation, prepping and planning. If you spend some time planning your meals and know what you're going to make for the next week or two, and spending, a couple hours here, a couple hours there, prepping for those meals makes it easy. So when you do get hungry or you are running short on time, you're not going to fall into old habits of just grabbing something and not making the best choice with that.
Because we are lazy creatures at heart, and we tend to go with our established neural pathway patterns and
path of least resistance.
Right. And I love what you're talking about, the exercise, because it's really interesting. I have a trainer, and he asked me what I did on the weekends. I said, oh, I run 7 miles. And he was like, I want you to stop that because you're not helping yourself. He said, I either want you to do running sprints or walk. And it felt like I was cheating. It really felt like I was cheating. But he said, you're actually destroying your body doing that. So it was very interesting. I was like pushing myself to run those 7 miles. You know what I mean? And that was actually not helping me. So
no, and I think, again, I don't have anything against the gym. And for those that enjoy that, that's great. I don't have time to get to the gym. I mean, like right now I don't. That's why I had to be, and I think everybody needs to make that choice for themselves. What can you realistically do? Like I have some of my clients, they're like, well, I'm going to start, working out when I get home, if I get home early enough. And I'm like, what about taking some tennis shoes with you to work and just taking 10-minute breaks a couple times a day and walking around the parking lot, or just those stairs that sit right outside your office? Hit those stairs for a couple, just move. And it doesn't have to be for long periods of time. Right. Just moving is good. And it also clears your head, and it's great for mental clarity and all that good stuff.
Yeah, because I think people get into this all or nothing sort of mindset. You know what I mean?
And that's a really great way to set yourself up to fail, because it's these really high expectations of like, I've got to do this. And if I don't, well, screw it. Then nothing's going to get.
Just a failure.
Like what can we binge watch on Netflix today?
Right. Where's my carbs?
Slippery slope, my friend. Slippery slope.
I love it. And you said sense of community. Well, you've got your program right there, and there's your sense of family and community of people who are going to support you.
Yeah, it's so funny because as I'm supporting them, I'm getting the support back. It's really this symbiotic, beautiful relationship that, teacher, student, student, teacher, it's very fluid. And I love that. And it's as much as I give, I get back from them as well, which is
yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, people come up and thank you, and you're like, oh no, thank you.
Yeah. It's thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for, for showing me that this is helping you, because that's inspiring me to even search more and do more for others.